incredible, incredible. Yes, yes, we had a great time. Yes,
Yeah, that was one of the best shows we've ever done, I think.
yes, I really enjoyed it. And hearing the other music was great too. We fans of everybody that was there, so it's just incredible. Got to
Yeah.
meet DJ Coco. That was really cool. Really cool.
It was cool to see that many people come out to support underground hip hop. Like, you don't really get that in the US, I don't think, the way they do it over here. Like, I mean, there was at least 1,000 people in there. Like, yeah, that type of thing doesn't really happen on the other side of the pond for the most part. So, yeah, the French crowds are awesome.
Yes, yes, yes. It was 2013 we released that album, and it just blew by. It actually almost escaped us that it was the 10th anniversary. It's not something you think about when you're having fun. It just happened so quickly that, and we had so many accomplishments in that period of time that it's just, caught up with us quick, very fast, very fast. So it's amazing to be touring during this time, just to be here. People don't last this long in the underground, especially. So it's a blessing. I didn't think I would completely stop. I just thought that maybe it was time to stop pursuing it professionally. Maybe it was time to just do something else at that time. I had a family, growing family. I had a decent job, and I didn't see the opportunities that I had expected coming. I had an album that I made. It was turned down by a label that put out my first album, and it was crushing because I spent money to make the album, and I thought that things would go smoothly, and it didn't. But in retrospect, I look back at that, and that was part of the process to take a turn to go independent and not rely on other people. And I just needed a breath of fresh air with production that more fit me. And I tell him all of the time that God sent him to me because it was like the perfect fit, and it just so happened, that everything kind of aligned. And we just found out that the way that he heard my music actually came through France. It was interesting. DJ Alpha from the Gros Tastique was mentioning the Mellow in Your Tone series, the compilation series, and he was the first person in France to play Still Got Love. And then because of that, other big YouTube pages in France started uploading some of my music, and he was able to hear my music through YouTube. So without Alpha, without France, without those YouTube pages, without French radio, he would never heard this record on YouTube and never reached out to me anyway. So it's interesting that it was through France that brought the music to all the way to him.
I think I don't want to say it's most difficult, but as an independent artist, you're a lot more hands on, a lot more feet on the ground, and it's a double edged sword, meaning the benefits they mean a lot more, but you have to put a lot more of that groundwork in. And I've been able to absorb so much from A1, connecting with Phoniks, and just to see how they move, and not necessarily what they do, but the way that they go about doing it. That's what's just as important. Getting the right timing down. So I think it's paramount as an independent artist to have a plan. A lot of the things that these labels do, we're able to do ourselves. Is just you have to take a little bit of a longer road, but once you get to where you want to go, once you reach those accomplishments, it feels a little more sweeter. And just speaking for myself, I've been blessed to be able to do it with, you know, one of my mentors and two of my brothers right here next to me.
I would just add on to that and say that we're always working. We always have to be available. It's not a set work day, set structure. Through social media, email, and different things, you have to be available to make sure that you access opportunities that may come your way. So you have to give a lot more of yourself to your craft and to your business. So it's definitely a lot of work and a lot of attention being paid to every single platform that you may be on. So it can be difficult at times, and it's just about time management, work life balance, just as if you were working, a regular job in every single day, going into work, punching the clock. So it's definitely work, but the reward is the freedom and the dignity of, you know, being able to say no or yes to certain opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like these guys were saying, like you kind of, to be independent, you got to wear a lot of hats and sort of handle a lot of different jobs. So like, it's nice because you own 100% of your music, but like, I mean, the worst part is shipping the records. I'd ship all the records myself. So like, literally doing like packing, taping, printing the shipping labels, bringing them to this post office. Like, we do everything. So we put out a new record. We got to do ship hundreds of orders. Like, it's a lot of work, but it's, I mean, it's like I don't take any of it for granted because it's better than not having anything to ship, or not having anyone support it. So, yeah, no regrets.
I would say be patient. You have time. Uh, Everything doesn't happen when you want it to happen, and it might not be the way that you expect it to be, but sometimes that can be a better thing. And just take it day by day, and nothing happens on accident. So everything is a lesson, and everything is part of the journey, and enjoy that journey because you learn something along the way. Yeah, so one of my best friends, Rashard, found this guy because he likes to listen to instrumental beats on Instagram. He built a rapport with So Dope, and he started sending me music. And one day when I opened up the folder, I just was inspired and immediately started recording. And over the course of a year, we put together this album, and you know, we released it through Don't Sleep Records. And the artwork is from a artist from my area, a young man by the name of Dathan Kane. He's a muralist and an abstract painter, and I bought one of his paintings because I'm a fan of his work. That painting became the album cover, and since then, Dathan has been his work has been acquired by museums, and he's done murals in various cities on the East Coast, and his career is exploding. So it's just a beautiful thing that hip hop has, an eye on the art scene as well, especially, contemporary art. So I'm just really proud of that. And aesthetically, because Phonics also does the graphic layouts. Just aesthetically, it's just one of the album covers that I really, am proud of. And he laid this album out really well. It has a great story. So, I'm glad I decided to listen to my friend on this one. This was a recommendation, again, something that just happened to come to me, and it was a success for us.
You also drop Saturate with Berlin producer Donkey Shot. And
Yes,
also New Perspective with Padre Toxico.
yes, yes. Yes,
More
there
collaboration
is.
coming soon.
I'm working with a producer from Paris, Parental. He and his brother Lex have a record label. That album is being finalized now, and I'm also working with a producer from Hamburg, Hi John. We're still working on that album, and Phonics and I are gearing up for something in the future. Won't announce it yet, but we're already working, and Anti Lilly's working. We're all just very active right now, so there'll be a lot more coming everybody's way this year and next year. So it's gonna be packed with releases. Yes, collaboration with Hip Hop Breath actually for your anniversary as well. That record with Scene 5 and also DJ Eveready on the cuts. Um, it was an incredible production. And I remember when the beat came to me, when you gave me the selections, I said, "Oh my goodness," it was so unique. And when the cuts were added, it just took it to a entirely different level. And I'm very happy to be a part of your anniversary as well. And we all share these anniversaries around the 50th anniversary of hip hop too. So I think again, this is another act of like serendipity where everything is just coming together, and I'm just glad to be able to be a part of so many things and take advantage of, coincidence.
And so maybe project with him.
Possibly, yes. He's we've been talking, and I would be very open to that because I want to hear more because his sound is very unique, and it's just so different, and everybody's been asking me about that record as of late. My wife loves it. Shouts out to Tiff to give. Phoniks just released his instrumental project Dreams. And you could tell her what else you got cooked up that's coming next.
Yeah, our goal for this year was we wanted to try and get a project out every quarter, so we're working on getting out 4 albums this year. Dreams was the first quarter release, which we just dropped like 2 weeks ago. And then, Awon and I have some stuff cooking for the summer. I got a project with a rapper out of Boston named Knuckles that we're going to be our second quarter release. We got a bunch of cool features on that. That should drop in a month or two. And then, I know we got that joint cooking with Amerigo Gazway too,
Yes.
which that could be and Napoleon the Legend, that could be our fourth quarter release.
Yes, we are. Yes, it's a large collaboration. Myself, Phoniks, Amerigo Gosway, and Napoleon the Legend. We all got busy, so we taking a break now, but we have quite a bit of work done already. So that's going to be an interesting one too.
Oh yeah, we could definitely do another round of that.
Yes.
Yeah, we got the files, but right now we just put together a compilation of our favorite instrumentals. So we just put out a Don't Sleep Instrumentals compilation that was it's kind of being paired in like a 2 vinyl pack with Dreams. So that's kind of our focus right now, but we could dive into the B-sides and release some demos and stuff in the future too. So that was a fun project to put together. My childhood, I always kind of gravitated towards like kind of gritty hip hop type stuff. I can remember being on the school bus at like 12, 13 years old, listening to like Liquid Swords, and I got into MF Doom and stuff. Like, I got into all that really early. Master Ace, Disposable Arts, I always say that was like my favorite album for a long time. I didn't really start diving into the jazz stuff until probably like 15, 16 when I started producing myself. And I kind of go in and figure out like what hip hop I liked and what they were sampling, and then sort of found it backwards through that. But I didn't grow up listening to jazz. It wasn't something that was necessarily being played in my house as a kid or anything like that. But I probably found it as a teenager, a young teenager. it is. Probably maybe I have two older sisters, so probably they were playing music and they showed me some stuff. Like they're both 10 years older than me, so they were into like they probably put me onto the 90s like hip hop stuff that I ended up falling in love with. I think it was just sort of like I think that like 90s boom bap sound was something that was sort of dying out, and I just wanted to like create more of the stuff that I like to listen to, basically. So like just make more of the stuff, make more of that golden era type sound that I enjoyed so much. How did I develop? Probably, I think there was a period of time I'd probably watch every video on the internet that had the word beat making in the title. Like I think every video where someone was using an MPC on YouTube, I used to just watch them like religiously. So like through that, and then just working, figuring out stuff on my own, making my own beats, reading the manuals for the MPCs and all that, like just nerding out over it, basically. I started with, I think I started with Reason. So I started with the software, and then I got a little drum pad for Reason, and then I got the MPC pretty early on, the 2000 classic. I started playing bass and guitar when I was 10 or 11, and I kind of would go through phases in my life where I was playing it more or less. But I've been trying to work in more instrumentation into the music lately, and like at least do a couple tracks on each album that's fully sample free, and then maybe eventually get to the point where I'm doing full projects that's sample free, just because with sampling there always comes certain issues that you want to try to avoid. So yeah, the more you're playing yourself, the more the better it is for No, I've been doing music full time for like almost 10 years now, probably, since me and Awon linked together. I mean, for a while I was like living at my mom's house and making like $100 a month maybe. But eventually I got to the point where we were putting out records and and started the label and all that. And like my Spotify stream started going up, and it just like makes enough to pay the bills. So thank God I'm still able to do that 10 years later. It's been a blessing. Oh, actually, I think the first beat I ever made, I sampled that 21st Century Remember the Rain track that ended up being the sample for, I ended up chopping it up later, and it became me and Awon's song, Escaping Youth.
The first beat?
That wasn't the first beat I ever made, but that was the first. That was the first sample I ever chopped up, I think. And then I ended up revisiting it and like fixing up the drums and stuff. But yeah, that was one of the first. I think that was the first beat.
Look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I never told you that, I don't think.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I didn't know that. I think I had found him, through like, he kind of had, he had a couple sort of viral songs on YouTube. He had the one with Thomas Prime, the Believe in Us, right? Yes.
And then the one that I was listening to at the time that I messaged him was, what's the one with Soul Chef and Tiff? Rest of Our Life, or Rest of My Life, yeah. Yeah, I was just listening to that, and I had never really worked with any rappers before. Like I had put together a few remix albums, so I knew how to kind of build sequence beats and sequence an album, but I didn't know anyone. Like I'm from Portland, Maine, which is sort of not like a hip hop epicenter or anything. There's not a lot of rappers around, and especially no one who can rap like Awon. And so one day I just decided like I'd reach out to this guy. I was like, he has a following, but he's not too big that he wouldn't answer email. So I hit him up, and then he was like immediately hit me back, was like wanted to talk on the phone. We talked for an hour or two. He was just saying how he wanted to jump on some of those beats, and then the rest is history.
Very, very much so. I don't call it a chance. It just was meant to be. I just didn't know it at the time, you know. But this is what's supposed to happen, and I think this is one of the most proud meetings that I've ever had because you know Phoniks and both of these guys are like exactly my own brother's ages, so they are like my brothers essentially, and it's very easy because you know I'm 10 and 13 years older than my own brothers, and very similar with these guys, and you know, for him at the time he was what 22, 23 years old, and his ear was exactly like mine, and I said, "Oh my God, this is a genius! Like this can't be happening to where the younger guys making beats better than guys my age and older." I'm like, it's gotta happen. So you know, it was meant to be.
Yeah, yeah, I think in terms of instrumental albums, this is kind of my most like technically complex. Like a lot of the songs are like the melodies are built from like 3 or 4 or 5 different samples that have all been sort of pitched and blended and layered on top of each other. Like generally in the past, I would make beats. I'd have one main sample and I might add a little bit over it with instruments and stuff, but I wasn't necessarily blending a lot of different samples. So it just has a very kind of layered, textured sound. I did a lot of like digging back through, like I have hundreds of beats on my laptop, so I went and dug through older ones and organized all the samples by key and beats per minute and everything. And then so I had like almost 1,000 samples of like all the beats I've made in the last 10 years. And I went through and sort of found ways to combine them. And then that's what Dreams ended up kind of being born out of that. Yeah, he did the cuts on that song. And then, yeah, I did a lot of scratches on the album too, though. I think a lot of the songs, I think I probably did cuts on like 9 or 10 of the tracks, so the 19 tracks. And Eveready killed the cuts on his album, but on his track. Yeah, I can't keep up with him in a DJ sense, but that's why I always bring him in to do at least one song on my album because he's a beast.
Yeah, so speaking of the 10-year anniversary of Golden Era, I dropped an album, and both of our projects collectively they were mentioned in the Source magazine. And that, you know, I don't know who reached out to first. I want to say Phoniks reached out to me, and it's a lot similar to how he and Awon connected. Being from my region, sonically that's not the most popular sound, so us being able to put the trilogy together, starting with Stories from the Brass Section later that year, going into It's Nice Outside, ending the trilogy with That's the World, it's done a lot for me personally. Phoniks, he's a mad scientist when it comes down to the production and what I was personally dealing with at the time. He was my muse as far as he would give me the canvas for me to, you know, express myself and tell my story on. And I just think that marriage of, you know, what he brings to the table, what I bring to the table, and just what I've been able to soak up from, you know, Awon, it just really made everything that we've done so far stand out more. And you know, I don't feel that I would be in this position right now if we didn't correspond all of those years ago, 10 years ago, right? So it's amazing.
What inspired you to going Anti Lilly?
So my actual name is Drake. That's my government name. When I first started making music, I just went by my regular name, Drake Lilly. Then another guy named Drake, came out. So, I wanted to make a slight pivot respectfully. And around the time, I would want to dig deeper into my own lineage and understanding that the last name that was provided to me, that's not my actual true family's name. It was from, slavery passed down. So I was around 13 or 14 years old at the time. So I just put the Anti and made that my first name. So it was kind of a spite in a sense against my last name, and it stuck. And ironically, well, being from the region that I am, down south, Houston, Texas, even the music I was making back then, it didn't sound like any of my contemporaries or my colleagues. So it just kind of has a double meaning to it. And all of these years later, it still makes sense. So that's where it came from.
Well, then.
Oh, I've always wrote. So growing up, there was always music, playing throughout my home. So I also was in the band. So I've always just either wrote poetry, wrote my thoughts out, or wrote music. I want to say I first started recording when I was 13. I got my first piece of equipment, and it was terrible, but it was an outlet for me to just, get my thoughts out. And through repetition, through the love of the culture, through the love of what I do, it got better. And this is something that I've always been passionate about. So,
did you seriously think about it from the start?
yeah, actually, my mom, she has this drawing I did. I think I was in the 3rd grade. It was 3 things you wanted to be. First thing was a rapper. Second thing was a professional wrestler.
That was my dream too. Neither of us haven't developed a body for it.
Nah, I haven't quite. I'm like a cruiserweight,
Yeah, Lucha Libre.
And my mom, she's a dentist, so I'm like her shadow. We're incredibly close. So I either wanted to be a rapper, a professional wrestler, or a dentist, like my mom. Yeah. So it's actually a collective in Houston with 2 of my close friends, Devontae Hunter and Guy King Preach. Absolute beasts when it comes down to, what they do on the microphone, and they stand on their own. We're all 3 independent artists, but we're very like-minded. We moved around a lot together throughout the city on the independent scene. We met around 2012, doing open mic events, and we would be at a lot of the same gatherings, a lot of the same functions. And what I noticed from Devontae and what I noticed from Preach is they were hitting a lot of the same brick walls that I was hitting. So Indigo, it comes from the fact that yes, we are a little different. We all 3 individually sound different on our own, but even compared to some of the biggest artists in the city, it's a different sound. So it's inspired by the thought of the Indigo, which means you're gonna stand out, like the Indigo Children, and the clan represents the brotherhood and the camaraderie that we have for each other naturally. So whether we're putting out a group project, or whether I'm putting out something through Don't Sleep, or Devontae or Preacher putting out a solo album, anytime we come together, it's going to be presented as the Indigo Clan. So last year we put out our first project, Over the Woods, and it was a blessing to do it. It was an arduous process, but I'm so pleased with the finished project, and I'm excited to continue to build with them creatively. I actually met the other guys through A1, ironically. But yeah, we're still building, working on tracks, sending stuff back and forth. But it's a great working relationship. I'm a huge fan of what they both, Joe and Isaiah, what they bring to the table, individually, collectively, and we'll see what the future holds with us. It's more of a, I wrote that song as a self-affirmation, because I'm my biggest critic, and even through some of the other songs I released, like, I think the common narrative is that I generally stand in my own way more than anything else. So that's just a reminder, like, no matter how hard things get, just take it easy on yourself, take a step back, appreciate the journey. I think that's not only myself, but a lot of us miss out on that, because as I continue to go through this life, I understand there's always going to be something positive, and then there's always going to be something that will bring us down. But it's all about the perspective you have, understanding that, okay, like, it's not all good, but it's all good. So just take it one step at a time, embrace the journey, find peace in the process, and that's where the inspiration for that song came from.
Yes. First and foremost, thank you to France. Thank you to Hip Hop Breath. Lady Sue, we appreciate you having us. It's always amazing to speak to you, to build with you, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the culture here and for the rest of the world. We need that, because we've lost our way with pure hip hop journalism, and what you're doing is the way that I saw, hip hop journalism when I was growing up, which made me fall in love reading the text, getting the real questions, the technical questions about the artistry directly from the artist. So that's important. And I definitely like to shout out, Tip to Give, Deflo, High John, Donkey Cho, all of the people that we're working with, Scene 5, Eveready, and every Padre, everybody we're collaborating with, because hip hop, especially underground, is a small world. Just like you spoke on Joe, the other guys, Joe and Isaiah, and how the dots are connected. So this is a community, and just want to say peace and love to the community, and let's keep grinding, let's keep working. Salute.
Yeah. It's A1. Hip hop breath, With this hip hop breath, I take one step to dominate, annihilate any MC that you can nominate. I spit THC concentrates, obliterating obstacles. Anything is possible. The raps are phenomenal. Lyrical skill is diabolical, moving at the speed of your optical, sparking up the tropical. Conversations stay over your head like a chopper do. Do. I be dropping you, Lady Sue with the alley-oop.